today. Hello everyone, welcome to Chennai SolidWorks user group. After a long time, we have been organizing the session, and yeah, since I just got to know about APIs and stuff, I just thought we can also help people understand what actually is API and how we can automate things with that. Today we have our well-known and renowned presenter, Rajat Jain, a product development director and head of business services at JDACPL. With over 2 decades of his experience in the tech industry, he has led cross-functional teams to deliver innovative digital solutions. And his background includes as platform consultant, founder, and he also holds MBA in IIT Delhi, and he has completed his BTech in production and industrial engineering from IIT Delhi. So here today he's going to present us how we can automate the things in SolidWorks API. And this is not the single session, so stay tuned for the future sessions where you can understand in deep and you can do advanced API sessions with SolidWorks. And in the end of the meeting, we will announce about some details about the contest, which will help you to get CSWP API certification access. So everyone, let's introduce our presenter. Sir, yeah, you can start with the presentation.
Okay, thank you, Krishna. Can you hear me, guys?
Yes, sir.
Okay, very good. So let me not waste any time. Let me just share my screen and we can start. Okay, so I hope my screen is visible now.
Yes, sir, it's visible.
Okay, great. So, yeah, thank you for the introduction, Krishna. And as you know, my name is Rajat Jain. I am a certified SolidWorks API expert. I'm also a SolidWorks champion. I represent here my company is called Jain Auto Configure Private Limited. We have a product configurator, which is a SolidWorks solution partner. Now, in this session, today is, I think, one of the earlier sessions for SolidWorks APIs. So in the first session, we will briefly discuss what are the various methods to automate workflows in SolidWorks. So there are, in total, there are actually 4 methods by which you can automate. We will see which method is best suited for which situation. We will also discuss some of the key features of each of the methods, the differences of each of the methods. We will discuss SolidWorks programming interface in brief. We will also see this SolidWorks. This is the starting point of making a connection with SolidWorks. And then in the later half, we will try our hands on one of the earlier macros in VB. So let's talk about the kind of solutions that we can develop using SolidWorks. The first of the kind is a macro. Now, a macro is basically a script which you can develop inside the Visual Basic for application, which is directly embedded inside the SolidWorks interface. And in this later half, when we create actually a macro, I'll show you how we can actually do that. What is the way to develop a macro? A macro is basically, as I said, it is a script. It is a file with an extension .swp. It automatically references the libraries which are required to access to make a connection to the SolidWorks interface. And it also shares the resources with the SolidWorks application. This is a video on how you can actually create it, but I think I'll show you practically how you create a macro. I am sure some of you people have already done that in your process. So in the later half, we will actually see how we can do it. Let's talk about the structure, the architecture of a macro. Now, as I said, a macro is developed in a Visual Basic for application, which is called a VBA interface. And this VBA interface is directly embedded inside SolidWorks application. So The SolidWorks application, as you can see here, we have a macro and it is using partially some of the resources with the SolidWorks application. Now, this architecture is actually important for each of the methods of automating your workflows. And based on this architecture, we decide what method we should use to automate the workflow. We will see it actually. So let's talk about the advantages and the disadvantages. Now, macro, as I said, it is a script. It can be quickly developed because the VBA interface is already embedded inside SolidWorks. So it is very simple. You can just, if you know VB, you can directly write down a script and automate test some of the functionalities. Macro can be recorded. This is a very, very powerful feature of SolidWorks. And SolidWorks allows you to actually record a macro. So what you can do is, if you intend to automate some of your workflows, you can start recording a macro, and then you can actually stepwise, you can follow your workflow in the process. And once the process is completed, you can save the macro, and then you can rerun the macro, check, maybe make some changes, check the macro and rerun it on different models to see if you can directly get the requisite results. Now, this is very powerful, and I usually use it to identify the various functions, the various API calls, which can be used to automate my workflow. The other thing is that because it is just a script and the script already has references for the requisite libraries, it does not require any setup process. So this means if you create a macro on one machine, and if you need to run it on your colleague's machine or on some other machine, you just copy the macro and you can directly run it on the other machine. So there is no setup process. You do not have to register any libraries. After talking about advantages, yes, there are certain disadvantages. And the most important is that a macro cannot run automatically inside SolidWorks environment, which means that if I start SolidWorks and if I want the macro to do some processing when I start SolidWorks or during a session, a macro cannot do it. I have to manually run the macro to make sure that it follows the process. The second disadvantage, some people believe it is an advantage and some people believe it is a disadvantage, is the fact that it is a script which can be edited by anyone, whoever has the code. So if I share my script with my colleague can make the changes, and if he shares it back with me, then I do not know whether it would work because somebody else can make this. He has made the changes. Okay. The second type of method, which is a more prevalent, is the add-on type. Now, this is an embedded library which we create. It runs automatically inside SolidWorks. It is developed in Visual Studio environment, and you can use any of the programming languages, whether it is .NET, VB, or it is C#, it is C++, you can use any of them. It communicates through, this is a function called connect to SW, and I think we will talk about it when we discuss how we create an add-in some of the later sessions. It gets automatically executed with SolidWorks application. This is very powerful. So if I need some processing to be done automatically when I start SolidWorks, then add-on is the best solution. Okay. It runs in the same thread because it is automatically being executed. It runs in the same thread as the SolidWorks application. And so we get the maximum performance benefit when we automate using an add-on. Coming to the architecture of it. So now we have, as you can see, we have a SolidWorks application. And if you see, the add-on is actually residing inside the application, and the communication is always through the same SolidWorks interface, and it is run completely inside the application. That is why we get the performance boost. Let's talk about the advantages and the disadvantages. So, as I said, advantage is that it runs automatically. Now, you may ask, why do we need that? So I will give you one very simple instance, and many people, many companies, they really want it happen. Say, for instance, you have to ensure that whenever your files are saved, you save it only in one hierarchy of folders. Okay, if you want to do that within SolidWorks, what you need is that every time you save using SolidWorks save, or you do a save as, you only get access, your save as dialog only gives you access to the folder structure where you are allowed to save. And this is something which is possible through an add-on, because when you run SolidWorks, the add-on is automatically loaded, and in the background, whenever you save, SolidWorks is automatically running the add-in, and the same logic is applied. Okay, if you develop a macro for this purpose, unless you run the macro, your logic will not be executed. Okay, so that is the advantage of running automatically when SolidWorks start. Disadvantage. So it is a time consuming task to develop an add-on. It is very cumbersome. You need to create a class library for that. Once the library is created, you need to make a connection with your SolidWorks interface. So you need an add-in library. And once they are ready, then to deploy it on multiple machines, you need a setup. The setup is required because of two things. Now, one is when you share your libraries, you need to register libraries on the other machine. And when you register, you also need to make certain changes in the registry. And that is the reason why you need a setup to deploy an add-in. So it is a time consuming task, but performance is superb, and it is required to develop an add-on whenever you want your add-on to run automatically with SolidWorks. Let's talk about the third type, which is an application. Now, application, as the name suggests, it is independent application developed in Visual Studio or any other IDE. It can run independent of SolidWorks. It can make connections, so your application can do certain tasks. And whenever it needs information from SolidWorks, it can either create an instance or it can connect with a running instance of SolidWorks using some of these functions. And we will see what these functions are in some other sessions, later sessions. And once it gets the information from the SolidWorks instance, it just shows within its own UI. So it is running independent of SolidWorks. If SolidWorks is not running, even then your application would work. It would start a new instance of SolidWorks. And if the SolidWorks is already running in the background, it will connect to the running instance. If I look at the application architecture, you will see that there is an application, the automation application, which is independent app. And we have the SolidWorks application, which is again another independent app. And the communication, as usual, it happens through the SolidWorks interface. So let's talk about the pros and the cons. Now, there are certain advantages of using an app. The advantage is because it runs independent of SolidWorks. If you need to do certain testing, which you can do only for the app, it is very fast. You don't have to always connect to SolidWorks. Again, deployment is very fast because there is nothing to register. You can just share your executable file on different machines and run it. The disadvantages include that because it is running completely out of process, performance is not good. Performance is limited. And again, it cannot run automatically because it is an independent app. Okay. The fourth kind of solution, which is a combination solution, is something which is generally used when you want to have your own app, but you also want certain information to be shared within your add-on within your SolidWorks interface. For instance, if you have, say, a PDM app, you have a PDM app which is an independent application running outside of SolidWorks, and then you also have a PDM add-in which is running inside your SolidWorks. So if you make a change in your PDM app, the change is automatically updated in the add-in and the connection is automatically made. If you see, in this case, it is a mixed solution because you also have an app and you also have an add-on. And they are, and again, the SolidWorks app, and all three of them are continuously and seamlessly, they are exchanging data, so that at every point in time, whatever you do, the user experience is always great. Okay, you actually get to see the same result on each of these interfaces. So now we have a comparative study. So this slide tells us what is how these are different. Okay, this is a summary of what we have discussed so far. Let's talk about SolidWorks API interface now. So I had been using this namespace a lot, and if you want to access it, you can go to this is your installation where your SolidWorks is installed. And within this, you will have a library called solidworks.interop.sldwrks.dll. Now this is the library which is used to make a connection and to access the various functions of SolidWorks APIs. This is this is not a detailed API model, but this is a glimpse of some of the most important features which are available. These are classes actually, which are available in SolidWorks API. And we would be using some of these in some of the sessions that we have. This is the primary interface, and this is called the SolidWorks application interface. So if whenever you run SolidWorks, this is the guy, and this is the first object that you need. Once you have your SolidWorks application object in your either a macro or an add-on or an application, then you can access the various other things. For instance, you can access your model doc, which represents the document. And a document is either a part document or an assembly document or a drawing document. Okay, so based on the type of document, you can access the objects for your part document, assembly document, and drawing doc. And these objects have in further give you access to the various features that are available. For example, if I am talking about a part doc can have a list of bodies, and each body can give you the features that are present in the body, or the features which actually make the body. And then for each of the features, we can get the various faces and the edges, and so on and so forth. Again, for talking about the assembly document, from the assembly doc, we can get access to the component, the various components that are present in the assembly. We can also get access to the constraints, the mates. And there are other information which you can get through these docs. For the drawing document, we have something called as a drawing sheet. And each sheet has a lot of views. And for each of the views, you can have your own display data, you can have your dimensions, and whatever information is there on the view. The drawing document also gives you access to something called as an annotation. Now, annotation is basically a representation of the notes, the dimensions, the symbols, which are present in your drawing document. So you can access this information. If you want specific to your drawing view, you can get them through the drawing view. If you want all your annotations in the drawing document, you can access them from the drawing document. If you want them only from the sheet, you can access it through the sheets. Okay. The model document, this is a generalized representation. This is actually a base class for your document representation. And it has the functions, the properties, which are common to all of these. For instance, if I want to know what is the path of the document, the file, where this file is saved, and what is the name. Now, this is common property for all of these, and this is available here. Okay, and we will now subsequently, when we write down our macros, we will see how we use each of these. So as I said, SolidWorks application object, this is the entry point. And if I show you here, this is the guy. This application is this one we are talking about. This is the entry point, and it allows users to communicate with SolidWorks and get all the other relevant objects for automation. Let's see what we can get through your SolidWorks application object. This is a small list. We have hundreds of functions, properties, which can be used to generate data. We have something called as a revision number. The revision number gives you what is your current version of SolidWorks app. And this is very important at times. Now, because of more latest APIs, this is not in use much, but this is of importance, and we will see how and why this is important. Then we have something called as a current license type. It tells you what is your SolidWorks license, whether it is a premium license or a standard license. You can get your working directory. You can set your working directory automatically using some of the functions. If you need to create a new document, a new part, assembly or drawing, you can use something called as a new document. This is a function. If you want to do something on the active doc, then we have something called as the active document. This is the document on which you are actually working, the active document in the current SolidWorks session. You can get a list of all the documents which are loaded, which are open in the session. And if you need to open some document with a file name, then you can actually do that using OpenDoc7. And we will actually use each of them in subsequent sessions. Let's write down a first macro. So I will go to the SolidWorks interface. And to write a macro, you will go to, now this is a familiar screen. You will go to the tools menu, go to macros, and say new. And if you see here, we also have an option to record. But right now we'll just say new. I have a folder here on my desktop called macros, and I will say this is my first macro. And if you see here, the extension is called SWP. Let's save it. And when I do that, you will see that Microsoft Visual Basic for Application interface, this is automatically opened. Now this is embedded inside SolidWorks. I told you that the references to the SolidWorks library is automatically included. So to check that, we will go to tools here, go to references, and you will see that we already have a link to SolidWorks 2025 type library. This is automatically done by SolidWorks when it creates uh, a macro. Okay. Now, when we write down our macro, this is the starting point, and this object represents your current application, SolidWorks application, and this is the definition, which means that your application object is now being populated. Okay, and by application I mean this is the application. Okay, this is something called as a frame. This is an application, this is the task pane. Okay, and let's see what we can do with the macro. So if you see here, it has declared your application as object, but we will, because we know that this is application, we will call it solidworks.solidworks, sldwrks.sldwrks. And this is the namespace, and a namespace is basically used to group your classes, and this is your class. And if you see, because I have the reference, when I clicked on dot here, it displays a list of all the classes which are available, all the interfaces which are there. Okay. And this is called IntelliSense in Visual Studio. Okay. So once this is done, once we know that this is of type SolidWorks, now we can ask it, what is your revision number? And if you see, as I press dot, it shows me a list, and I can directly press double click and it will write down the function properly. Let's run it. Let's see what happens. So if I run it, it displays a value of 33.3.0. Now, when this function was actually introduced, this was in 2008. So it actually started with 8, a value of 8. So because it is 2025, so you add 8 and you will get 33 here. Okay. So whatever is the value that you get before the first dot, you subtract 8, and that is the version of SolidWorks that you are using. The first dot, the second number, which is 3 here, 3.0 actually, it represents the service pack. So let's see whether this is correct or not. I will go to my SolidWorks application here, and I will check what is my version. So if you check here, it is 2025 SP 3.0. Okay. Now let's talk about some of the good programming practices. Now first thing is, by default, when I create a new macro, you have seen that SolidWorks app, this variable is actually declared as an object. But what if I do not declare it? Let me say I just comment it. Does it work? And I run it and see it works. Now it works because currently I have not set the option to explicitly declare my variable, which means that as soon as the compiler, it reaches here and it does not find a declaration for swap, it declares it as an object and it fills in the value. Now this may cause errors. So as a good programming practice, we should always, on top of every class, every macro, we should say option explicit. Okay. Now, once I write down this line, This means that now the compiler cannot assume that there is a variable which is of the type object. And now if I try to run it, it would say that this variable is not defined. Okay. Now this is a good programming practice. We should always follow it. Okay. Let me uncomment it, and we can do the commenting from these line, this button, and we have uncomment. And now, bingo, it works. There is again so this is option explicit. We should always use so that the variables are explicitly declared. We should always try to declare variables with the type that they would carry the value. Okay, so instead of saying dim SWAPP as object, we should always declare it with the correct type. Okay, this ensures that we use the IntelliSense. And sometimes, even though we know the function name, IntelliSense actually gives us the correct name because it is reading from the library directly. And sometimes, so we actually get rid of all the human typing errors. Okay, so this is really important. We should always declare with the correct type names. And again, before we use any of the variable, we should always check. So let's try this and let's get access to the active document. Yes, we will go back to our first macro. And now I am declaring another variable, which is now, as I said, model doc. And if you remember, so from SolidWorks, we get the model doc. Okay. We will set a value. And I said there is, if I need to connect to the active document, I will say something called as active doc. And you will see as I write it, it shows me the function or the property. And now SW model has access to my active document. Okay. And let's see, can I, in my message box, can I show you the path name? This get path name will actually show us the complete path where this model is saved. Let's save it and let's run it. Now, when I run it, it generates an error which says object variable or with block variable not set. If I click on debug, it says, hey, your SW model is not set. It is nothing. Now, this is because I do not have any active model here. Okay. So two things. First, your macro should always, your script should always take care. So what I'll do is I'll check. And I'll check. And I say that if my model is not nothing, if it is populated, then only show a message box. Now let's run it and see there is no error. Now let's open a document and see whether we actually get it. So I have a simple part here. And this part is, it's a simple cabinet. And let's now run a first macro. And when I do that, it displays the path of my active model. So this way is you can, using the macro, you can actually access the various information, the properties, the functions. You can do certain tasks on your active model. You can open a model, you can get the properties, get the custom property values, get the configurations, get any information from your model, and then automate your workflow. Okay. So we have done our first macro. Let's summarize what we had discussed in the session today. So we have discussed the various methods to automate workflows in SolidWorks. We have discussed what is a macro. We know that a macro can be directly, it's a script which can be developed inside SolidWorks. You can run it. You can quickly identify what all features, what all properties you can access. You can quickly automate your workflows. You can share it on different machines, check it on different models. Then we have something called as an add-in solution, which is a little complex, but the advantage is that it runs automatically inside SolidWorks session. It gets connected automatically, does the task. So every time you run SolidWorks, it ensures that your process is followed, your workflow is followed. Then we have something called as an application, which is an independent app. It can connect with a running SolidWorks session, or it can start a session, open document, get the information, do the processing, and come back and show the results in the application. And then we have something called as a combination, a mixed solution, and which is a combination of any of these three. We have also discussed the basics of the SolidWorks programming interface, SolidWorks.SolidWorks interface. We have done our first macro to display a revision number. And this is, I think this is a very common question people ask. Why all SolidWorks training sessions have the first macro as display SolidWorks application revision number? And I will answer that. This is actually required because, say, for instance, you get a model, a file from your client, which is developed on 2025, and you are currently running your SolidWorks 2024. So before you open that file, what you can do is you can actually check what is the number, what is your SolidWorks application revision number. And based on that, you can take certain decisions, whether you want to open the file, whether you want to display a message, or you want to do certain other things. Okay, so this is important because of the new enhancements in the APIs. People do not really use it, but I have been using it since, I think, last 10 years now. Okay, so this is all for today, because this is our first SolidWorks API session. So try your hands on macro interface. We have discussed. So just try to write down, develop some of your scripts. You can record macros. You can run them, check for the results, see what is the kind of results that you get. And when you record, it also records your mouse position. If you select something, even that is also selected. So you can clean up your macros and see whether you can run the same macro on different models, on different machines, to generate the results that you expect. You can create your own new macros. You can very well check the other functionalities of SolidWorks.SolidWorks interface. And I'll show you the help file from where you can actually read about it. You can also create a list of workflows which you need to or want to automate. So if you, in your current work environment, if you believe that if you can automate, combine some of your tasks, whether it is mathematical, in the design, or in the management of data, that the way data is kept. If you want to automate it and you do not understand where to start, what all APIs you need, you can share it with us, send me an email, and I will include it in the upcoming session. So in the next session, we will see what all requirements we get from the team, and based on that, we can discuss some of the API calls. In the next session, although this is done, I have already made a connection to the active document using solidworks.activedoc, but we will see what all we can do in the active document, how and what all properties we can access, what is a read-only property, what is a write property, and how we should actually use it. We will also, based upon the time that we have, we will also check the model type. So currently the cabinet which I opened, it was a part type. So we will see whether it is what is the model type, and based on that, we will populate the part doc, the assembly doc, or the drawing doc, and we will see what all specific interface specific information we can get from from those interfaces. Questions? So all your questions are welcome. If you can answer everything here, very good. If I cannot, this is my email ID, Rajat Jain. It's one word, RAJATJAIN @auto-configured.com. Please feel free to ask anything.
Thank you so much, sir, for your wonderful presentation of the introduction to SolidWorks API. I can understand that it's kind of, a very new stuff for all the many of the users, and they can get kind of overwhelmed with the contents they have seen. So what we assume from the introduction of the session is you have some basic visual basic programming understanding. So don't worry with the thing that you don't know anything or you couldn't understand. So now you got to understand something, that what API is actually doing visually through this session today. You have seen how the values are updated and how the programming works. You know, we have only been seen SolidWorks using with the CAD tools and all these steps, not with programming. So today it's an initial step towards automating it. And as a beginner, we can also suggest you some steps where you can start learning it, so that finally in the end of the session of all these parts, we can. I would request everyone to mute so that everyone can hear my voice as well. Thank you so
Uh,
much.
I have a question, please. Question session is over or not?
Yeah, sorry, can
Yes,
you repeat it again?
I have a question. Question session
Yeah.
is already over or not?
No, we are starting with the question session now.
Can I now? Can I ask a question
I
or
mean,
later?
I wanted to give a conclusion before starting the question session.
Okay.
Yeah, no worries. And yeah, so we will answer some of the questions now, and then we will also give you some brief idea where you can just start with practicing it. And then, now you got some contact. He has sent you an email so that you can ask sir doubts whenever you're trying to practice the API stuff, you can ask him. And yeah, after the Q&A session, we will just give a brief idea what the contest will be. And yeah, so let's start with the Q&A session. So yeah, you can. I hope his name is Soyib Hussein. Yeah, you can ask your question now.
Thank you very much. I am Shojib from Bangladesh, Dhaka, Bangladesh. Actually, my question is: previously, I faced a problem. Suppose I have make a use case and parallelly recording a macro. After recording the macro, uh, I found it a problem that macro not record the physical dimension what I am inputting. Did you understand? What the issue for that?
You are right actually. So when you so in a sketch actually, uh, it must be, you might have seen that the coordinates of the points which you get in the macro, they are different from the coordinates that you actually enter, right?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay. So actually, there are two kinds of point. This is actually a first class. So it may confuse others, but there are two kind of points. One, when you are talking about a sketch. Now, sketch is basically a 2D entity. You place a sketch on a plane, right? Now, when you place a sketch on a plane, there is an origin, and then when you pick a point, it has an x and a y coordinate. Okay. Now, when you record the macro does not record the point coordinates in the sketch coordinate system. So it does not record the coordinates with respect to your sketch origin. But what it does is it actually records everything with respect to your model coordinate system. And that is why you will see a difference in your coordinates in the recorded macro. Okay. Now, when
Yeah,
we subsequently, because this is our first session and we are only talking about the application and we have just made a connection with the active doc, when we talk about the sketch, and we will also talk about the transformations that are required to get some information, and this is more mathematical, but yes, we can discuss it. Okay. And the way a macro records the values, but the macro is always recording everything with respect to the model coordinate system. Okay. So this is the reason why you get a difference in the coordinates.
yeah, I understand your point, and I understand fully understand that. Actually,
Okay.
my question was that coordinate macro records the coordinate. I understand that, but if I put any physical dimension, suppose I am making a 100 mm a line, and I am putting a dimension 100 mm.
Okay.
Macro does not record the dimension actually.
It does not record the dimension. Yes,
Yes, yes.
macro. Yes, you are right. So macro is basically when you record macro, it does not record each and every step of your workflow. Okay, there are certain steps which are recorded, and this is actually again a limitation. I think it's very good. I should actually include this as a bullet point in my presentation. This is the limitation with macro. Macro does not record each and every step of your workflow. So whatever you do, it does not record everything. But yes, there are certain functions which are recordable. There are certain things which are not recordable. Now, if you want to do it, as I said, once you get your macro, you can clean it and you can add your own functionality. So in the macro, once your dimension is created, you get access to that dimension object, and then you can put a value in there. Okay, that you can manually do.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
once you do it, then it would work fine for the other cases.
Yeah, thank you very much. I understand. So we can summarize that macro cannot create a automatically fully defined use case. Am I right?
Yes, yes,
Thank you very much.
yeah,
Uh, Thank you.
yeah, most welcome.
Yeah, in the chat we have few questions. So I will look on some of them and then ask you. And yeah, the first question is, mm, can we get access to motion analysis or animation documents with API?
We can actually, yes, we can access the motion analysis also. any kind of simulation. If you have a license, yes, you can get access, you can make a connection. It is once you the first step is you make a connection with SolidWorks application, right? And then you, within the SolidWorks, you can actually get access to your model doc and the other things. Now for the simulation, we have a different class structure. Okay, so once you access that class structure through the entry point, you can get access to everything, and then you can do even you can run a simulation, you can set your own constraints, and you can do everything that you can manually do using the SolidWorks interface.
And the next question is, does API work with PDM?
It does. So PDM, I think a lot of companies are already doing it. So SolidWorks PDM, yes, we have, and it's a good thing. Let me just share my screen again, and I will actually show you. So if you see here, this is the familiar screen. Go to your, on top of right, we have a help button. If you click on it, go to your API help, okay? And ensure that you are not using your web help. This is unchecked. When I do that, now this will open up my local help. And if you see here, this is the interface which is connecting to your SolidWorks, okay? And within this, I will quickly move down and I'll show you. And this is my entry point, my SolidWorks.SolidWorks. Okay. So from here, you can, if I click on the members, you will see a list of functionalities which can be used to access. So if you have, and this is the SWAPP, this is this guy here, okay? And now we have used ActiveDoc. See, we have used ActiveDoc, we have also used revision number. And here you will see ActiveDoc, okay? So using this help, you can actually read this, and these are all the functions which are available, and you can do a very large number of functions of your workflow automations using all these APIs. And this is only for SolidWorks. For Model Doc, we have another interface called Model Doc 2. Let me show you here. Okay. And this is, if I show you, this is this guy. Okay. Now coming back to the question on simulation. So if I show you here, we have something called as a motion study.
Yeah.
You can also get access to the interface and the various functions, and you can read through and you can directly connect it. For the PDM also, we have something called as a PDM professional API, and you can read through any of these. You can make a connection with your running PDM instance. You can do a check-in, check-out. You can do any kind of workflow simulation. You can even develop your task cadence. Okay, you can automatically do certain things when a user changes state. You can even do a complete project management using these APIs. So SolidWorks has provided a very vast interface for automating your workflows, and you can do it in your SolidWorks, within your PDM, your motion study, your simulations, wherever you want to do it.
Yeah. So there was also another question how the beginners can start with the API. I think this interface is exactly where they can start with it because it's completely structured how we can navigate through the initial phases, what the members available in each of the interface, and you can also see there are examples in the bottom to access how they have coded the part, and you can visually see how the code works after implementing it by your own with the examples they have provided. And
Yes.
yeah, this also answers the same question. And the other question is, can parametric data be implemented in macros?
Parametric data can be implemented, yes. It depends. See, as I told you, there are certain things which are possible because the functionality is available. It has been exposed by SolidWorks using these interfaces. You can access that data, you can update that data as per your requirement. But the only limitation of macro, if I recall, now the first is that it cannot automatically run, and the second is it is not safe, so anybody can update it. Okay, so if you want to write down something which is more robust, it is always better to develop an add-in. Okay, it has better performance, but for the to start with, you can use this interface, develop macros, see what all information you can get, try your hands on it, and then in the upcoming sessions, we will also see how you can use your parametric data to automate your workflows.
Yeah, and they ask whether there is some license required for accessing the API.
There is no license required. It is completely embedded. Whatever you have, whether it is SolidWorks standard, premium, it is all there. You do not need any additional license to use APIs.
Okay, and then uh, uh, you mentioned that using macro we can find version of the SolidWorks. The doubt is that does it display the version of the model which was made or version of the SolidWorks we process?
So the if I talk about, I think we were using the revision number for the SolidWorks app. So if I want to know the revision, the version of the app, then I will use the revision number. If I want to know what is the version of SolidWorks which was used to save my model, then there is something called as a version history, which is available on SolidWorks model. In the, if you want, I can, in the API help, you can uh, check it. I can also show you. Okay, sorry. Or let me directly check. In the model doc, we have something called as a version history, which can be used to, here it is.
Yeah.
And this function can give you what was the, this is basically, so if you started with SolidWorks 95, then 96, and if a model was, if its legacy data, it was developed in 2011, and then you saved it in subsequent versions, it keeps all the information. So it gives you a whole big list of which all SolidWorks versions were used to save that model. But this is on the model doc, okay? Because obviously only model knows where, in which all versions I was saved. It is available on the model doc. SolidWorks app, that revision number only gives you the version of the SolidWorks application that is currently running.
Yeah. And Um, uh, can I integrate SolidWorks with my ERP system?
Very well. Yes, you can do that. Very well.
Yeah.
So there are, I think, there are many solutions which are available, and you can do it by yourself. I think that is the idea that with subsequent sessions, one should learn that much that you should be able to directly integrate. Yes, it's possible.
Yes, sir. Many of them, kind of thinking why we should use API. Still, we have GUI to use everything. What is the use of API? As a participant like you, I can say that. Say, for example, if I want to repetitively do, more than 10,000 rounds of tasks, it's the same task. You can do it actually with the GUI. But how much time I can conserve if I automate the task with the code, right? That is the place where we use the API to do this stuff, even if we have the GUI stuff. Initially, GUI is to do what is happening and in which tools we can do, and sometimes we can update or instant changes or anything like that. But this API is especially for the continuous and repetitive task. That is the main goal of using API. I hope this helps, and I was about to answer when someone wants to know what's the use of API, right? And I hope these are the questions in the chat so far. And about the recording and yeah, can you suggest documentation of integration of API? As we see right now in the screen, this is the exact official support and documentation of API. So I would suggest this one. And sir, can you also add some point on this for this documentation?
I think this is a very vast document. This should always be used, and this is very well written. All the SolidWorks API experts, they all use this. This has the most latest information. Okay. If you
Hmm.
have questions, if you cannot find something, it might not be that it is not present in the document. It might be because maybe we do not know it, what we should actually search for. So you have my email ID, you can directly ask me. Okay. But this
Any
is
book?
the most relevant documentation that we have.
Yes, sir. Is there any book we can use for a beginners?
There are many books which are available. I think in the next session, maybe I'll also share a list of the
Sure,
books.
sure, sir.
Many books are available,
Yeah.
but I think this is very extensive documentation. There is no need for a book.
Yeah, whenever I also used to look for this documentation, instead of this native one, I used to look in the web API documentation. I don't think they both are different. It just have this much primitive HTML format, but in the website you will have a wonderful colorings and everything. That doesn't make any sense when compared to the knowledge we gain in both of the places. So I wouldn't say it's much different. And for the attendance form and all these stuffs, since it is not this certification, as I mentioned before, we will have a contest in the end after all the sessions. So whatever you are learning from here, this will be supporting you for preparing for the contest. So don't worry that we will ask as an exam. We will ask more than what we have taught you in the contest. So don't worry with that. We will give a simple task, and we want to give you how practically it works with you. When you can see what the result you are working on it, you would find it really happy to see the end result. And so we are conducting this contest, and whoever is doing the contest and finally submitting the results as we have expected will get the access to the certification. So yeah, and for the recording, we will get the recording soon after this session ends, and I will send the link to you via emails to all the participants who have attended, or I will post in the discussion forum of the event, so you can directly access the link there. And uh, yeah, And then the next session is scheduled soon, so we are not sure yet. We need to look for the right time slot for both of us, and then we will plan the session. And as we do every time, we will post in our social media, in the SolidWorks WhatsApp group, and everywhere. Don't worry. And since you are all present in the Chennai SolidWorks user group, you can also get the recording. Yeah, I will share the WhatsApp group link. Okay, I think I have the link separately. So yeah, maybe I will send the link in the email to everyone, to like a summary mail where you can also access the WhatsApp group for the Chennai SolidWorks user group. And thank you so much, sir, for your wonderful session. I hope everyone had really got an understanding what API is. Many of them have understood what the word API and what they can use it for. Looking forward to the future sessions, and I hope everyone will be presenting over there as well. So thank you for your support.
Thank you everyone for your time today. And I look forward to more questions in my mail. Yes,
Yeah,
feel free to. Yeah.
thank you so much, sir.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
yeah, we can end
Thank
the
you.
session now. Yeah.